the person that was asked about. This situation goes with a few of the questions, so here's a situation. A map of Nelson County is laid out in the standard XY coordinate plane below, where the center of the county is at 0, 0. So let's see, and loaded. A cell phone tower is at 5, 4, and Esteban's house is at 10, -2. Each coordinate unit represents 1 mile. The tower signal range is 10 miles in all directions. So, anyway, 10 miles in all directions, that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then this way would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll go back and count that if I need to for this problem. But it's from the cell phone tower that it goes 10 in all directions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When I go 10 miles in all directions, because it could really even be these directions too, what type of shape does that create? Um, 10 miles in all directions, like not just 4 points. It creates a circle. All right, when I go 10 miles in all directions, I mean, I was counting these ones because I can actually count 10 this way, but I could also do a distance of 10 that way, and it basically makes one big giant circle. So then this one says, how much land area to the nearest 10 square miles does the tower signal range cover? So this is creating essentially a circle with a radius of what? 10. It goes 10 in all directions and above it. So anyway, area of a circle. What's the formula for area of a circle? Good. I like doing pi r squared, but yes, it's the same thing. You do that. Length times width is for other rectangle, and like I said, we're not just creating a rectangle here. If it goes 10 in all directions, that means it also goes 10 in this direction, 10 in that direction, 10 in this direction. That makes a circle. Okay, so that's why we're going to use the area of a circle formula, which they would expect you to know, and not Google it during your real estate test. So like, you've got to memorize that. And pi, there is a pi button on the calculator, so I'm going to use the pi button. Radius is 10, we're going to square it. And I'm going to use my calculator to find my answer. And we're going to round that answer to the nearest 10 square miles. So I'll do, because this calculator is kind of funky, I'll do the 10 squared first. So 10 to the power of 2 is 100. We're timesing that by pi, which is this button. They didn't say use 3.14 for pi, so I'm going to use the pi button, which gives me this long decimal. I have to hit equals for it to give me the answer. So don't forget that part. You have to practice with whatever calculator you plan to use. And it wants us to round to the nearest 10 square miles. The tens place would be here. Not tenth with like a TH or anything like that. The tens place is right there. So what's going to be my answer for this one? 310. When I round it based on the tens place, I look to the right. That's a 4. That means where I underline stays the same. So 310. And we said that one was C, right? And that, yeah. Good. Questions on this one? All right, Gabby, you had your hand up earlier. Number 6. So going to number 6 now. All right, so good one to go over, lots of information, try to digest it all. Sometimes it's also a good idea to read ahead to see what it's gonna be asking about. You don't look like you're writing stuff down, David, are you? Are you thinking? Okay, just making sure. But anyway, it's a good idea sometimes to read ahead to see what it's gonna be asking about, so you can pay attention when you read that first paragraph. So it says the sum of the distance Ryan walked and the distance Tomas walked was at least 15 miles, but not more than 21 miles. One of the following is the graph of the possible values of x, which one? And these are all different compound inequalities, if you remember that. So knowing that the distance they walked was at least 15. So I haven't made an expression yet for the sum of the distance they walked, so I'll just use this phrase for right now. If the distance walked was at least 15 miles, then can I use this symbol compared to the 15? Would this allow at least 15? If it's at least 15, it is allowed to be more than 15, so I can use that symbol. Can it be exactly 15? Yeah. Okay. If I said it has to be at least 15 miles, it can be 15 exactly, so I'm gonna use the one with the little line underneath. Then it says that it can be not more than 21 miles. So if it can't be more than 21 miles, can I use this symbol here? Good about this? If it can't be more than 21 miles, can I use that symbol? Think about what needs to be bigger in the situation. So if it's not more than 21 miles, that phrase, then I have to make it to where whatever was walked was less than that. Can it be exactly 21 if it said not more than 21? So then it also has that little line. The way that compound inequalities work, usually we'll put the smaller number on the left. So like I'll move this over here. And if this is supposed to be the bigger value in the relationship, I need to keep that consistent here. So like the distance walked is supposed to be bigger than 15. And this is how I'm setting up my compound inequality. I know it's going to be an inequality because there's a few different numbers that fall between 15 and 21, right? But we have to write an expression now for the distance walked and solve the compound inequality. The answer will be one matching one of these, where it goes from like 2.5 to 4, 5 to 8, 5 to 6.5. So we have to do some algebra now. And this is supposed to be the sum of the distance Ryan and Tomas walked. So let's figure out how much Ryan walked. Sorry, I have to scroll up, but it looks ugly. Bear with it. So it says Ryan walked 2.3 miles from his home to meet Tomas at school. And then I'm going to skip Tomas's for a second. Once they were at school, the boys went to the park, which was X miles away. So adding X to what Ryan walked. And then X miles to get back to the school. That's what Ryan walked. 2.3 from his home, X to the park, X back. For Tomas, it was 2.7 from his house. Once they met at the school, he walked X miles to the park. So 2.7 plus X. And then from the park back was another X miles. Does that make sense? Anyone have questions about that? This is what Ryan walked. About this? About this? Okay, let's stop and maybe learn something right now. Did you get this one right initially? If I go to your paper, I'll see that is right. Anyway, still don't interrupt me on. Super. Moving on, so it had to be the sum of the distance that they both walked. So combine like terms, what's 2.3 plus 2.7? And then x plus x plus x plus x is what? And that's gonna be replacing my distance walked. So it has to be less than or equal to 21, and at the same time, bigger or equal to the 15. From there, you solve your compound inequality, which is basically the same as solving a regular inequality, except for that now you have two totals. So when you do something to one side, you have to remember to do it to both other sides. So isolate the x. Whenever you isolate x, always start with what's farther. Would that be the 4 or the 5? And how do I cancel the 5? Whatever you do on one side of the inequality symbol. And since it's a compound inequality, I have two other sides, so make sure you do that. What's 15 minus 5? So then this cancels out here. Over here, well, let me put the 4x in the middle, so. Over here, what's 21 minus 5? And then x is still not alone. What's opposite of multiplying by 4? And whatever you do on one side. And it's a compound inequality, so make sure you do it to both other sides. 10 divided by 4 is 2.5. I do not need to worry about flipping the sign because I divided a positive. You only flip the sign when you divide a negative on each side or multiply a negative on each side. So I'll leave the sign the way it's facing. These 4's cancel, x is alone. And 16 divided by 4 is 4. So then the number line that says that x can be from 2.5 to 4, including both those numbers, is option A. So this time, usually I can cancel out a few based on the open or closed circles. These all had closed circles, so that didn't help me as much. I had to solve to get the exact numbers that it should go on. Okay, questions about that? Any other questions? $15. Okay, so same situation as before. This is the same exact setup. They'll do that sometimes, like they'll say this goes with these 3 problems. So for number 15, it says the strength of the lower tower's signal to Esteban's house depends on the straight line distance between his house and the tower. So imagine a straight line connecting these two. What is the straight line distance in miles between Esteban's house and the tower? So you can't count when it's like diagonal. So here's what you can do. My favorite stuff. So if this is what they're trying to get me to connect, I'm going to try to make as straight of a line as I can. What I'm going to do, there's a distance formula, but I don't know that you guys will have that memorized by the test. So I'm going to go to Pythagorean theorem, where I'm making that red line my hypotenuse. And I'm connecting these as legs of my triangle so that I can actually count. And when I do that, that makes a right triangle that I can use my Pythagorean theorem. That says to find the missing side of a right triangle, it is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And the distance formula is a variation of what Pythagorean is. So A and B would be like how long these legs are. So like for the taller one, it goes from here to here, so from -2 to +4 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. From here to here, so 5 to 10 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's gonna be my A and my B. C is what's missing, that's what I'm trying to figure out. It wants to know the distance between these two. So if I plug this into Pythagorean theorem, I can solve for that. A being 6, B being 5, equals C squared, I can start solving. What's 6 squared? 36, and you can use your calculator, including this one, if you didn't know that. There's a square button over here. Right, but I don't need it for this one, I think. 5 squared is what? 36 plus 25 is 61. And then opposite, because the C is not alone, opposite of squaring something is to do what? To square root it, whatever you do on one side. So that's why this one was C equals, well, not, it maybe didn't use the letter C, but the distance between the cell phone tower and Esteban's house was the square root of 61, which was option E. Right, that's what we said on the P. Okay. Questions on that one? So any like diagonal distance, you can't just count straight across. Make a triangle, plug it into the Pythagorean theorem, solve for the missing side. Other questions? Might have time for one more. Micah? 16. Okay, so same situation, but different question now. Number 16. The tower's signal range directly above point AB on the ground extends to an altitude in miles given by this function. A jet directly above Esteban's house is within the tower's signal range. What's the maximum altitude in miles of the jet? So we need to figure out what AB is in this situation. It says the tower signal range directly above a point on the ground extends to an altitude, blah, blah, blah. So if a jet is directly above Esteban's house, where is Esteban's house? What coordinate? So if I'm understanding this correctly, I haven't looked at my notes for this one this year yet. That A is 10, B is -2, is what I'm understanding it as, which is right above Esteban's house. And this function gives me that elevation. That's what I'm gonna go with. So then plugging it into this formula, it goes 59 minus 10 squared plus 10 times 10 minus B squared, which is -2 squared, plus 8 times B, which is -2. Sorry, kind of squeeze it in there. But whatever answer that simplifies to will match one of these. Okay? The calculator will probably get messy. That's why I said if you have a real one, that'd be better, because you can type that all in and see what it simplifies to. Otherwise, know your order of operations. I would have to do exponents before anything else. So what is 10 squared? All right, let's see. What is -2 squared? -2 times -2. Okay, good. This multiplication, I'll save for the next step just to keep it neat. So we did exponents Now we're on multiplying, dividing from left to right, so don't subtract these yet. It'll still be 59 minus 100, what's 10 times 10? 100. Minus 4, what's 8 times -2? Okay, now it's just adding, subtracting from left to right. I'll use my calculator for this part. So 59 minus 100 plus 100 minus 4 minus 16 is 39. Was the answer C for this one? Was it? Okay, so that's how you do it. You have to read it, understand what they're referring to as A and B. They're saying that anything directly above a point, so like above Esteban's house, you plug into that function and it'll give you the height of whatever it's talking about. I know we're talking about it yet. So don't lose your packets. If you don't think you'll be able to get all your corrections done within an hour tomorrow, then do some more at home. Do more of your IXL growth at home, because that's also due tomorrow. You can tell we classed on that.